Hey there, everyone.
Mhm. I'm recording.
There we go.
Right, we're all in. Everybody's in.
Yeah, hold on.
All right, I see a lot of faces, and we're ready to
Why can't
roll.
I hear anything?
Ten.
There we go.
All right, look at all of these beautiful neo-noir right. All right, everyone. Down these mean streets, a man must go who is neither tarnished nor afraid. Welcome to the 2022 LA Neo Noir Novel Film and Script Festival.
Woo!
The interview.
Hey.
Woo! Hallelujah. Bulama Mamasama Makusa. All right. This is the VIP interview for LA Neo Noir Film
I'll leave
Festival.
then. I'll just leave then. Okay.
Yes, everybody mute yourself. Dick Kahuna speaking right now. We're talking about LA Neo Noir. I'm so excited. I don't want to talk over my other excited people.
That was a joke when you said this is the VIP meeting. I said, well, I should leave then.
Oh, ha, ha, ha. Touche. It was so deep, I had to think about it. I like that. I like that. Before we go any further, let me thank our sponsors, the lovely Shanice Coleman with Radio Theater for Your Soul. She has excellent LA Neo Noir shows, and I'll be introducing some of you to her as well. I'd like to thank Fade In Magazine. We'd like to thank, what's the other one? LA iPad TV. Thank you so much, iPad TV. International Screenwriters Association. We also want to thank Film Freeway for helping us navigate this event and also making us one of the top 100 greatest reviewed festivals in all of the whole galaxy. So we want to thank all of our great friends. Final Draft. Thank you, Final Draft, for the 10 free items. Our 10 free winners are going to love them. I want one as well. I should enter this contest. So with that being said, let's get right into it. What do you say? Before we go any further, who knows? We're going to do a bit of neo-noir trivia. I'd like for, if you know neo-noir, first of all, raise your hand if you know neo-noir movies. If you know neo-noir titles of movies, raise your hand. Okay. So I want James Eldon to unmute himself, James Eldon the Great. And James Eldon, you got 10 seconds from the time of your unmuting to your time of your muting.
Oh, geez.
Whatever that means. To name, give me 3 David Lynch neo-noir films. Give me 4 David Lynch neo-noir films. Your time starts now.
Mulholland Drive. Oh gosh. It's a dark. It's a dark highway. Gosh darn it.
James, we want to thank you for playing. It's been a wonderful.
And I love Lynch too.
No worries, my friend. And now, does anyone else know neo-noir titles before we go any further? Raise your hand if you do. All right. Uh-oh. Mark wants a piece of the action, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if he's worthy or not. Mark, from the time you unmute yourself to the time you do a remuting, we're going to ask you in 10 seconds or less, name me 4 LA neo-noir films. Not necessarily by that guy, but David Lynch or anybody. You got 10 seconds, your clock starts now. Unmute yourself, Mark.
I'm sorry. So there's, of course, Blade Runner, in my opinion. Blue Velvet by David Lynch. Damn. This is tough. What's the cup one?
And once again, we want to thank you, David, for playing. This has been a lovely game. We're going to play some in the next few minutes. Now, at least James Eldon isn't alone. He has a friend now. So we're going to move on to the next person. We're going to do a few more games later on, but let's get down to the nitty gritty, ladies and gentlemen. Is everybody in, my dear? All right. We're going to ask you, I want you to, just in case you didn't see the previous email, tell us who you are, what your capacity is. Are you the screenwriter, director, producer, caterer, what have you? Name the title of your project. Give us a brief, exciting, flourishing, and log line what it's about. and then I'm going to ask you what your future project is and how can we get in touch with you. That's a lot to remember, so just do the best you can, okay? Let's start with the person that we need to start with, the most important person here, which is Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, catch a neo-noir by the toe. James Eldon, he's back to him again. Let's hear you,
All
James
right.
Eldon. Tell us about it.
So my name is James Eldon. I am the co-producer of and director of Speak No Evil, which is about a mute street vendor who witnesses a murder and has to go to a down on his luck private detective to clear his name because the police think that he's involved with it. So it's shot in that classic style, black and white. I've got 2 shorts that I'd like to get up and running again. They're both involving clowns. One's more of a comedy, one's a little bit on the spooky side, and I'm working on a screenplay as well. And I can be reached at james@punkmonkeyproductions.com.
Wow, that was so efficient. I think I'm just going to take the day off. Good luck, everybody. That was incredible, James. Thank you so much. And let's move over here to Mark Hensley, and let's have him tell us about the Boys of the Summer. Oh, that's him.
Yeah. Mine is my short is uncut, and it was inspired by the abortion law when it was passed, and I wanted to put the shoe on the other foot. And so it's basically about what would happen if men lost autonomy over their own bodies and were forced into forced sterilization. It was shot with a 2-man crew, myself and a DP. Pretty much did everything myself. Edited it, colored it, did the sound, co-wrote it with my wife. And yeah, the next thing I'm planning is actually trying to do 2 features. This will be my first feature this year. One is called Sundown in the Salton Sea. It's going to be a bit of a horror film with Nosferatu. And the other one is Sociopaths, where it's about a pair of young women who meet up and become a pair of serial killers.
My kind of women. We're going to move on, ladies and gentlemen, to the incredible one and only. A rose is still a rose, but it's nothing like Rosie Gripma, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear from Rosie.
What's up? Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. I am the writer and co-director of The House, which is a film about a cable guy who gets called to a house to repair the cable, but little does he know, the house was built on the closest point to hell on earth. So at the dawn of time, when God created earth, she created it without gravity. She buried the devil in hell at the depths of its core. And as she was finishing the final touches on what would be known today as the French Southern Territories, hell and the devil lurked down towards the earth's crust, settling just beneath the surface before gravity set in. So it's a possessed house that's bringing people in to create an army for the devil, if you will. And this is the story of Timothy Ian Tate's journey through the house.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's the first film that I was lucky enough to kind of get produced, which so it was very good. I had a very good team on my hand, and now I'm working on, I wrote a feature script about a woman who, a married woman of 2 who goes on a business trip, makes a terrible mistake that ends up following her through the rest of her life. And the only thing that she can do is kind of fight for herself to get her life back. And we don't know if she even does, but it's a stalker film, and it's also dark, but funny.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Indeed it is. How did you say we could reach you, Rosie?
Oh, you can reach me at r.gritma@gmail.com, or I'm also on Instagram, Rosie Gripma, and same with Facebook, Rosie Gripma. That's where I'm at right now.
We're going to keep a grip now on that.
Yeah.
I want to move on, ladies and gentlemen, to a man that needs no introduction. We can't do this without one group of people, and ladies and gentlemen, that's the Canadians. So we want to thank Adrian Garcia for coming to the mic. Speak to us, Adrian.
Hello, I want to try if my micro is working. Can you hear me?
It's very clear. I can hear you. That's the only person.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much for having me here. Yes, I have a Canadian flag right there because I'm in Toronto, Canada. Yay. Okay, so my officially selected film for this 2022 LA Neo-Noir Festival. It's called Reel 1, We Are the People. It is a very short film. It's technically a cinematography reel that is part of a bigger project exploring classical American cinematography styles. The film is about film, if that makes sense. If you watch Taxi Driver, maybe you may know that We Are the People is the slogan that Palantine uses for his 1976 presidential campaign in the movie. So it is a film inspired by Taxi Driver. It is a tribute to Taxi Driver and also to the classical neo-noir. Uh, I think I think this film uses the frame, the editing, the film technique to introduce you to the atmosphere, to the mood of neo-noir and the urban environment that I think is very important for neo-noir. I am basically the creator, the director, the producer, the editor, and the cinematographer of this project. Yeah, I made it mostly by myself, which was a very interesting challenge because I made it in winter during the night. I filmed this in the border with America at the Detroit River and also in Toronto. So yeah, it was very cold. It was like -9 when I was filming this. But it was a very nice challenge. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's part of the art of filmmaking, I think. I am really, really interested in the relationship between characters and the city. I think that conflict is essential for neo-noir. And so the way neo-noir shows the city, I think it's unique. I think it's beautiful, and I am really interested in that. It is something that is not explicit in every film, but you can see it in the frame everywhere. So yeah, I really love the art of cinematography and neo-noir cinematography.
Adrian Garcia, what's your next project and how can we reach you, my friend?
All right, for reaching me out, I actually was writing things on papers here. So this is my email. It's Adrian, GACURB@gmail.com. All right, because it's flip. Okay.
No, I liked it better the other way, Adrian. That gave us a bit of escape room quality to it.
Okay, I'm also on Instagram. This is my Instagram, but it's this way actually.
Okay.
So there you can see Adrian GX.
Yes.
My next project. Okay, I have a lot actually, but I am a very young filmmaker. I do things by myself. I just finished school. So it's kind of hard. But yeah, I have a lot of projects. I have another film, which is kind of spaghetti western. It's very funny. So that is my next project. So yeah.
Hey, good luck in going to college. I know you just graduated from high school, Adrian, so thank you for that. We're going to move on to the great one and only, ladies and gentlemen, Stephanie Kolar. Let's hear from you, Stephanie. Woo! We can't hear you. I can't hear you. I tell you what, do it again. Oh, God. While Stephanie gets that together, we're going to come back to you, Stephanie. Whenever you get it popping, come back and we'll throw the other person out in the garbage. We're moving on.
Stephanie, go into your settings.
Say that again, young lady.
Sorry, this happened to me last week. Go into your settings and correct it there. Into your video or into your sound settings on the Zoom.
Rosie Gripna is saying, get a grip on your settings. Go to your settings and jiggle it or do something with it. I have to do that a lot with my friends. I have to jiggle them. We're going to move on now to the Jim Watson, ladies and gentlemen. Jim Watson, how do you feel today? Tell us about your projects.
All right. Well, I just learned about this last night, so I'm a little not quite sure what's going on.
No worries.
But I guess I'm just my project is a screenplay. It's called Perry. It's set in San Francisco. It's about sex trafficking, and it's the story of a mother and daughter who get separated. On the way to the city, the daughter hooks up with this kind of a street urchin who it turns out has been trafficked. She's from Haiti. They develop a relationship, and then the mother tries to track them down. There's heartwarming moments between the two young women. They develop a very nice relationship. But it's also very dark because you know that the forces that created the environment for the sex trafficking are closing in on these two young innocents. Well, the young woman from Haiti has been trafficked, so she's not so innocent. But the main character, Perry, is quite innocent, doesn't quite understand what she's at risk for. Her mother does. She's frantic, tries to find her in the city, finds her too late. And it's so it has a very dark noir trajectory and finale, though they are reunited. You know, there's a phrase, I think it's the return of the beloved does not restore the beloved. So, you know, the mother does not get the child that she had back when the story starts. Okay.
Return of the beloved does not, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. All right. All right.
Yes.
We're going to move on. Thank you. We're going to come back to that in a minute, Jim Watson. But before
Sure.
we get to you, let's see if Isaac Ballesteros Babar is here. Let's hear from you, Isaac.
Hi, my name is Isaac Ballesteros Barba. Sorry for that.
Go ahead.
You're good. You're good. My project submitted was Oscar's Group Home. It's a screenplay, and I am the writer. It is the story of 5 kids that live in a group home. And these characters are based on the movie Bratz that we all know. So there's a lot of iconic quotes from different movies that go around the theme. And it's all about them trying to figure out their path before they turn 18 and they have to move out of the group home. So it's kind of like a dark comedy, you know, setting in a very poor neighborhood in Portland. So that's basically the story. And I am working on several projects right now. I am trying to finish a couple of limited series that I'm writing. I'm trying to get them produced, as well as next week I'll be going to New York for a film festival, trying to land an agent.
Okay.
And you can reach me out at on Instagram. It's __ Isaac B as in boy film, and that's it.
Thank you so much, Isaac. We want to thank you for that Ballesteros speech. We appreciate that. Let's see. We're going to give our dear friend Stephanie Kolar one more shot. Give it a try, Stephanie.
Can you hear me now?
Oh man, your voice is melodic and great, and I'm so happy. Me and Rosie were worried about you, so we thank you for arriving here. Tell us, you know the deal. I think you heard everything. Tell us.
No Zoom meeting would be complete without technical difficulties.
So, indeed.
I had to give that to you.
Yes. So give us a feel.
So mine is actually a script. It's an adult animated script. It's called Iron Phallus. It's about a guy named Steve who's kind of a down on his luck scientist. He's been very unlucky in love since his divorce a couple of years ago. And he wishes that like he could be a superhero or a detective or, you know, somebody like on TV. He thinks that'll make his life better. So cut to the next scene where he has like the gruesome accident that causes his groin area to be burned and cut, and it's horrible. You know, all superheroes have to go through something horrible. But he heals really quickly, and at the end of the first episode, his penis actually comes to life. He can move, he can talk, and he calls himself Darius. So Darius is definitely the anti-hero. He's foul-mouthed, he's totally unfiltered, the complete opposite of Steve. But later in the series, I see Darius actually helping Steve when his coworker comes to him for help, when there's like these mysterious things happening around the lab and they're trying to figure out what's going on. But also mainly Darius is just a problem that he tries to keep in his pants. So
Stephanie,
that's yes.
Stephanie, you had us at when penis comes alive. Everybody looked up when you said that. Let me ask you, Stephanie, what's your next project you're working on? Talk to us about that.
My next script that I've been working on is actually a dramedy. It's a very dark comedy. It's about some college students who, when they're political science majors and when the incumbent Republican candidate for Congress dies, they decide to run their high school friend for the seat, even though none of them are Republicans. So they get into all kinds of messes in doing this. And at the end of that series, I see her actually winning the race and then having to go to Washington, even though she does not believe anything of what she's been saying.
Touche. We have a number of candidates like that. We want to move on to the great, legendary, is that Mark Levine? Oh, okay, I thought it was Mark Levine. I was worried. Okay, we have Mark Levitt here. Speak to us, Mark, about your project.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, my project is a screenplay. It's called Frank and the Orbital Gap. It's a science fiction comedy / noir. It juggles a couple of different genres, I guess. It's dark comedy. Well, the main plot of it is this guy, he's minding his own business and suddenly an alien contacts him through his television set. So he's a little put aback by it. You know, he's watching his favorite show and this alien actually contacts him through his television. So first he doesn't believe it. He thinks it's, you know, a gag, obviously. But the alien begins to tell him that his home planet is dying. And basically what he wants to do is he wants to come to the Earth and use this guy's front lawn as some kind of a landing strip. So from then on, the aliens can come and migrate down and gradually assimilate into this guy's culture. So they try to arrange a plan, but along the way they have this UFO investigator who's making trouble for them, not letting them, you know, conduct their plan. And you know, it's along the way there's a culture clash between the alien and obviously, you know, Earth, and you know, humor and social satire, etc.
Touche. Let us know, my friend, what is your next project and how can we get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, I'm doing a bunch, and it seems like in the science fiction theme, the next one is a group of aliens actually fund a Broadway musical that come down to New York, and they subsidize a Broadway musical because their son apparently has aspirations to be a singer on Broadway. So that's the idea for that one. In terms of getting in touch with me, marklevittblog.wordpress is my website. So that's the best way to get in touch with me.
Thank you very much, Mark. I think that it concludes everybody. Okay, good night. Have a good day. Actually, we have a lot more to go. Don't run away, everyone. We're going to ask everyone a profound, controversial question in the neo-noir realm and in the writing realm and the storytelling realm and all of these other different realms. But it's going to be a question you can choose not to answer or answer, but it will help people become better neo-noirists. My first question is for the great Stephanie Kohler. Get ready, Stephanie.
Okay.
I remember something to your story to the effect of a runaway penis coming to life. And I know that there's some other great elements to that story. But my question for you is directly to you as a woman. I have been having trouble writing as a 20-year-old white woman. So what is your ability? What gives you the right to write from a man's perspective? How do you get the proper voice and how do you feel confident that the story will come out good when you write from different men's perspective?
That is a good question. I feel like, you know, you can be on either side of the penis to write about it. Right? Maybe as a woman, I actually know more about what they want.
Wow.
You have to get in the head of the character that you're writing, and I feel like I did that.
You have to get, we're not going to go there. We're not elementary school students, people. We're not going to go get into the head of things. I know you thought I was going to go there. No. Thank you, Stephanie. We're going to move on over here to Jim Watson. Jim, tell us a little bit about, give us briefly what your story was about again, very briefly.
It's about sex trafficking in San Francisco. Two young women are being kind of closed in by a network of traffickers.
Okay, all right. If I had $1 for every time sex traffickers tried to close in on me, it would be a different festival altogether. Let me ask you, Jim, do you feel as neo-noir creators, we have an obligation to make commentary, social commentary on the state of our world that we're in now? Or should we just make damn good shadows and villains and criminals and femme fatales and say to hell with all of this social commentary stuff? Do you, as a creator of art, of neo-noir art, have an obligation to talk socially about social issues or not? Speak to us about that.
Yeah, I don't, I don't speak about it explicitly, but I think noir has a tradition of exploring social conditions. It's always in the background. It always has been. So I think that's one of the great things about noir, classic noir. The world is a dark place, often corrupt, and the forces that make it so are behind the scenes. And they create an environment where the heroes or the protagonists are caught up in a world they often don't understand, and have tragic consequences as a result. So no, I don't think I don't write any polemics or any kind of political commentary in this, but the situation is inherently political. I mean, it's in the situation, it's in the characters, because, as people get commodified, there's nothing more clarifying than prostitution or sex trafficking. That's the extreme example of something that affects all of us. We all become commodities to some degree, particularly in the film industry. Right. So I think, that's a political statement, but I don't say anything about it. It's just there.
Right. Absolutely. We're going to move over and get some levity to this situation with Mark Levitt. Mark, tell us briefly, once again, briefly, the quick synopsis of what your story is about.
So an alien contacts a guy on Earth because his planet is dying, and he wants to use this guy's front lawn to basically, be a landing strip for his people to come down. Because for some reason, there's a gap in the orbit which extends down to where this guy lives. So that's the premise, and then things evolve from there.
Would you say, Mark, that there are some tenements, not tenements, that's about housing construction. Are there some tenets to neo-noir in your story that are universal? Are there any neo-noir elements in it? We picked your story because we just thought it was damn good and entertaining and intriguing. What do you see any elements of neo-noir in a sci-fi film like what you're doing?
Yeah, there are some. The paranoia, the people, the paranoia about aliens and the fear, and a lot the UFO investigation. This woman is pursuing this alien, so that kind of drive is there, and it's not maybe classically neo-noir, but like an After Hours. This is a dark comedy, and it has elements where people are trying to get through all the the problems of modern day living just to to get what they want. So
touche.
Yeah.
Beam me up, Scotty. We're over here to the Isaac Ballester. Isaac, tell us about your film briefly, very briefly.
Okay, it was about a group of kids that live on a group home, and they are sort of troublemakers. So the man that runs the group home tries to help them to get ready for when they move out when they reach 18.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. helping them move out when they turn 18. He's going to wait. He's not going to groom them, as you said. Let me ask you something, Isaac. Dealing with young people, what would you say to an aspiring young neo-noir person who's a bit green, who's alien to this neo-noir writing situation? What would you tell him to become a great neo-noir writer?
Well, for me, it was all about research. So I would say, start watching some of the great classics. And then from there, start picking what kind of like formula they have, or not formula per se, but like what elements they conform what noir is, and trying to explore it with that. It doesn't have to, in my opinion, doesn't have to follow like linearly all the schematics of what noir is, but you can implement them and just play with them, I guess.
Touche. We've just had an incredible occurrence that just took place here. The incredible Aaron Fussell has arrived here, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron, I'd like for you to tell us, not right now, who you are. Well, we know who you are. We just found that out. But who you are, the log line of your story, what's your next project, where can we reach you? But before you do all of that, we need to speak with Mark Hemsley, ladies and gentlemen, and get his take on his quick story briefly as heck, man. Tell us about it and we'll move on.
Okay, so the film starts with the election of an authoritarian president who has decided that to keep the country strong, all males over 35 must submit to a vasectomy to keep the gene pool strong and to prevent abnormal births and stuff like that. So what happens is our main character gets the letter that he has to submit himself to get this procedure done. He doesn't want to do it, so he plans an escape to Canada. So that's the short of it. So it really is about body. Again, it's about the discussion of autonomy over one's body, but putting it in the male perspective, because just making a movie about anti-abortion isn't going to really, that's not, yeah.
Touche, Mark. People have said that life imitates art and art imitates life. I've asked both characters and neither one of them want to take the blame for either one of them. Let me ask you, do we have a responsibility as responsible artists not to put too much blood and titties, or breast, I should say, into the movies and keep it kind of PG and keep it suspenseful, Hitchcockian, so to speak? Or should we just blah, 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 slit throat, stab, doo-doo, whatever you're going to do? Should we put all of that in there and say, the devil be damned, we're making great art? Do we have a responsibility to keep suspense and not a lot of gooey stuff? Or talk to us about that, Mark.
Well, I'm a big fan of suspense. I'm not a big fan of gratuitous sex or violence unless it really is part of the story. Personally, I'm seeing a lot of overtly gratuitous sex and violence in films. And, I mean, that certainly would never be my thing. I always find the implied part of it is more interesting. And that's my take. And as far as, is it our obligation and is it something we should do? I mean, as far as filmmakers, they can do whatever they want. Me personally, I perfect example, if a movie opens up with an extremely hardcore sex scene or even a TV show or violence, I'm like, okay, this is going to suck, because clearly they have nothing else to offer. And it's such an easy, cheap way to grab your audience. I find it, a little lazy, but that's just my opinion. So that's how I feel about it.
Before we go any further, let me thank once again our sponsors. We have the lovely Fade In TV, International Screenwriters Association. We want to thank Film Freeway for rating us the top 100 best reviewed festival. Well, not the top of the top, but we're somewhere in that 100. We want to thank Shanice Coleman and her Radio Theater for the Soul, and a plethora of other great supporters of our broadcast. Before we go any further, let's hear from Aaron Fussell. Aaron, take it away.
Hi, I apologize. I had it written down as noon and then I rechecked the email and was like, oh. Safe Passage for Sheila is my film. It's real short. It's on the surface. It's about a look at living alone during the pandemic in a 2.5 minute story about a spider. But in a deeper sense, it challenges the femme fatale stereotype.
Mm-hmm. Tell us, Aaron, what's your next project? Do you have a next project?
I do. It's called For the Ancient Bristlecone Pines, and it's a short art house documentary film exploring time, place, and memory. And I retrace my steps in 2021, and I tell a strange story of a 1998 hitchhiking trip I made with a friend from Portland to San Francisco. And then I tell it to the oldest trees in the world, the ancient bristlecone pines.
Touche. Aaron, how can we reach you if we want more of this spider touche tree content?
I have a website, aaronfussell.com, and my email is aaronfussell@gmail.com.
Great. Aaron, since I got you on here so that I don't forget, tell me, I'm going to ask you a question similar to a question I asked previously to another gentleman whose name I can't recall. It was so profound. Let me ask you, do you have a responsibility to talk about the earth and natural things of our planet and how to save them? Or do you make any type of social commentary with your work? Or is your responsibility to make a damn entertaining good film? Do you have any obligation to make social commentary or not?
I don't think you can separate it. I think your experience as an artist and person is always going to be there. And that's always social, political, and that's always going to be kind of in there. My personal take on it is that I don't necessarily, I'm not creating an educational film. It's more like it's a conversation with the viewer. So people are going to put their own experience on it. And if we can talk about something interesting because of that, that'd be great.
Touche, touche indeed. Have I spoken with you, Mark Hemsley, about your, did I give you a question yet? Okay, I couldn't recognize you with the hat, without the hat. Let's move on here to Rosie Gripna. Rosie, briefly, once again, for the folks at home, tell us briefly what your story is about.
It's a story about Timothy Ian Tate, who is a local cable guy that gets called to a house. Little does he know it is possessed by the devil because the house was built on the closest point to hell on earth. And it's his story going through the house.
Do you have any moral forays, basically shit that you won't do, related to religion that is a no-no, or is everything on the chopping block as far as story material and this and that? Like some people that might be Satanists or something, they might say, hey, don't talk about a Satanist like that. What's your view on the line that people have as far as what they can say and what they can't say in a film?
That's a really good question. And I never really, when I wrote the film, I never gave like the beginning part about the, God creating earth and burying hell and the devil in the depths of its core. That was kind of an afterthought. I had initially started the story writing about Timothy Ian Tate going through the house and then meeting Sharon and then it turning into the situation that it was. I was born and raised as a Catholic. I believe in like do unto others. So it would never be my intention to offend anybody. However, as far as, I think everything in life is funny and or can be funny. And once again, I'm not there to make anybody uncomfortable, but it just, it was a cool story and it came to me and I liked it. So I wrote it down and I incorporated it. as far as putting things on the chopping block, yeah, once again, I wouldn't want to go so far out there to maybe offend somebody, but at the same time, we're all adults, and if it's something that is going to offend you, then I would encourage you to change the channel.
Touche.
Yeah.
Kiss my grits, in other words, is what you're telling the people. We're going to
Sure.
move on. The great
You say it more eloquently than I did.
Touche. Isaac, tell us briefly once again, tell us your story briefly.
I already went, but
You
do
already
you want me?
Okay, no,
Yeah.
I don't, it was so good. We don't want to mess with success. We want to move over here to, have I spoken with you, Adrian Garcia? Once, right?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah,
Adrian.
we spoke once, but not twice.
Give me the briefly 3 times a lady.
All right, mine is a very short film. It's a cinematography reel. It explores basically the life of the city at night and this relationship between city and neo-noir. It is not, it doesn't have a very clear storyline because it's more about showing the mood of the city at night, very characteristic of neo-noir.
What city are you talking about, Adrian?
This is very interesting because I base my film in classical neo-noir, specifically Taxi Driver, which is a tribute to the film. Of course, I try to show New York. However, it is not filmed in New York. Obviously, it's filmed in Detroit and Toronto.
Wow. This is the question I have for you, Adrian. Pretty much LA feels, I mean, New York and LA, there's always this competition. In Chicago too, like who has the best?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, the New York and the Chicago thing is, we got better pizza than you. We got better hot dogs than you. We got better neo-noir than you. You know, one person I haven't had enter the conversation is a Canadian. What is it about Canadian neo-noir? Is there a such thing? Is there a way to create Canadian neo-noir that can compete with a LA neo-noir and a New York neo-noir and a Chicago neo-noir and a Norwegian neo-noir? Talk to us about that for a second.
That is a very interesting question. I think every time that somebody asks me about Canadian cinema, it's kind of hard because it's kind of difficult to identify what is a Canadian film and what is not a Canadian film because our industry is very mixed with your American industry. So maybe you have a Canadian made film, but it is produced by an American company. So it's technically American film. So it's always very hard. Now, for an original neo-noir Canadian film, I would say that this maybe sounds bad, but Canada lacks of real crime stories that make up those very nice neo-noir films. So it is not as interesting as having a neo-noir film in New York. It doesn't sound as interesting like a neo-noir movie in Montreal. I don't know. That's my take. Sorry, Canada. Sorry, America. But yeah.
No worries. I always say that if you want criminals, go to New York. We're going to move on to Jim Watson. You had something you wanted to add to that, Jim?
You know, I said, a Canadian filmmaker that I think is pretty good noir is Atom. I'm not going to pronounce his last name right. Agoyan. He made The Sweet Thereafter. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Adrian.
Yeah.
I think that seems very Canadian in its setting and sensibility. So I just wondered what you thought about that.
Yeah, that is why for my film, I base my film on cinematography, on the mood, on the setting, not only on script, not only on a crime story, not blood, because neo-noir is much more than that. It's much more about the setting, much more about the mood. That's my take.
Yes.
Touché.
And I'm from Detroit, and I don't think there's any city that's more noir than Detroit.
Exactly. I really love Detroit. I think it's a city that deserves so much better.
Yes, we can agree. There's a lot of criminals in Detroit as well. I agree with the gentleman on that. I want to go one by one through everyone That sounds like something I said the other night. I don't mean that. I'm going to ask everyone a question. What's your favorite neo-noir film? And we're going to pretend like we have some. We do go into schools. We go into elementary schools occasionally, and we speak to young people in high school as well as in elementary school that have never written an epic neo-noir film or made a neo-noir movie like you all have. So we want you to give these aspiring brand new newbies of neo-noir some advice briefly, because nobody wants to hear old people talk all day. Give them a brief summary of what you would tell them to do to become great neo-noir artists, and tell us your favorite film. Let's start with Rosie Gripna.
I would say write something that you love and then find a team that supports you. Make sure that you're the weakest link and then make a film. And if you're lucky like me, it will end up in the LA Neo Noir Film Festival. It's all about the people around you.
There you go. We're going to bring you back on to compliment me later. I appreciate it. Next, we're going to Adrian Garcia. Speak to us, Adrian. You heard the question, right?
Yes. All right. I would strongly recommend to go and watch movies, especially to young people, because I realize that we don't watch enough movies. We're all the time on our phone, on TikTok, whatever. Yeah, I would strongly recommend to go watch Chinatown, watch Taxi Driver. Yeah, I think we're lacking that watching movies. I think even though we have to create new things, film has to move on stuff. I think neo-noir is very, very present today. And I think we have to keep watching the old ones, and we have to keep reinventing over and over. And yeah, I think for me it's that.
Are those your favorite movies, Adrian? Taxi Driver and the other one? Chinatown?
Chinatown?
Yes. Are they?
Yeah, they are. They are.
Okay.
Definitely.
What did you say, Rosie? I didn't remember your favorite film. What did you mention?
You know, I didn't, but I did like LA Confidential. I like 13 Monkeys. I like Reservoir Dogs.
All right. You have a plethora of items you enjoy. We're going to move over here to Jim Watson. Jim, the question, as you know, was what advice would you give a fresh starting newbie or fresh starting oldie if we have someone in their 80s or 90s that's just writing a story? Talk to us about that, Jim.
Well, I agree with Adrian. I think watch a lot of movies. I mean, I think that's really key. And I'm a little sad. I mean, these serials on cable, you know, that they're lovely, but they're different, you know, and there's a form to, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hour movie that kind of can get lost in that. And I think steeping yourself in those films, I think is really a fine idea. And I agree. I like both Chinatown and I can't remember the other one. Anyway, Chinatown's great. I like some of the old crime detective ones, like The Big Sleep. I think that's a great film. And there's one called The Grifters that's a little later. I think that's a great film too. So
profound words of wisdom from Jim Watson. Thank you, Jim, for that lovely tidbit of advice. We had both Adrian as well as Jim mention that we should watch more neo-noir movies to get a neo-noir feel of how things go. And we all think that's incredible. However, Isaac was going to tell us how that's some bullshit. We don't need to listen to that. Isaac, explain to them what they're missing here. What should a neo-noir person do? Talk to us.
I mean, when you asked me before, I did say watch a lot of movies.
Okay.
But I will say try to work on the slow reveal, and also in character development, trying to build like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I forgot her name. The first lady.
So many women, I can't remember their names, Jane. Just go on, just keep moving. Tell us about
Anyways, she mentioned about finding something that you like, something that and incorporate that into something that you can work with. But yeah, moving aside from just watching the classics, I think there's also a good take on watching contemporary noir films, and also, like I said, working us a lot on having strong and profound characters, you know, mysterious, leaving us always in a cliffhanger, I guess.
You want to take the low-hanging fruit and make a neo-noir pie out of the fruit that's low-hanging, which is what you know. I just have a taste for pie right now. I think that's what my issue is. We're going to move on to the legendary James Eldon. As you know, James, the question is, let me get it out once more before I forget what it is. What is it that we need to tell young people? And remember, James, young people have a short attention span. I have less attention now than I did back then, and I didn't have very much at that time either. What can we say to them to inspire them to become great neo-noir writers? And what's your favorite film?
I would say, well, Brick is a really great, brilliant neo-noir with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, set in a modern area. And that's a great one, especially if they're young and they're in high school, because it takes place in a high school area. As far as advice, I would say return to the source material. Go back and start read Chandler, Hammett, James M. Cain, Elroy. I think that you're going to get some great source and learn a lot from that.
Touche. Mark Levitt. Speaking of Gordon Levitt, let's hear from you for the young people and what your favorite film is in neo-noir land.
Well, I love the Bogart classics. He made, 7 or 8 of them. Dark Passage, where you don't see him. I think for the first like 20 minutes of the film, he's like, or the camera's just on the driver of the car. I think he made a bunch of them. So anything he's in, Maltese Falcon, of course. And then the more contemporary ones you have. I think my style with the comedy is more like Red Rock West or Blue Velvet, where they have like these absurd characters, that say outlandishly funny things, but along the way, there's all kinds of suspense and intrigue going on.
Okay, Mark, we have a number of little kids sitting up here looking at you, expecting you to tell them what neo-noir is and how you get to it and what makes a great neo-noir writer. So talk to these kids, Mark. They're getting on my nerves.
Okay. Well, it start out with a really damaged character. I think that's going to be your entry into this. Somebody who's been through something horrible and then has some kind of a dark past, and then you can build off that and try to resurrect him through a series of adventures. I think a lot of them try to do. So I think that started with a guy who's been through alcoholism or a crime past, something like that.
Touche. Stephanie Kolar, have I asked you this question or no?
Not yet.
Well, this is the time to do it. Let's hear from you, Stephanie.
So I would actually say go back and read the original scripts for a lot of things, because not only will you see how things are written, you'll see how it translates to the page when you then go and watch it, and how things, a lot of times when you read an original script, what shows up in the movie is very different. So I think that'll teach you how to write and how to translate it into what shows up on the screen.
What's your favorite neo-noir film, Steph?
I was going to say Blade Runner because I really like genre-bending films in general. I think it's kind of hard to do to mix genres, but when you do it well, it turns out really great.
It's something just dawned on me, Stephanie. Is there neo-noir for an 8th grader? Do they have anything to say that's worth telling that's neo-noir? What do you say to that if you had to tell some 8th graders to write neo-noir?
I would say go for it. I mean, I think regardless of what age you are, you probably have something interesting to say.
Profound words of wisdom. I'm looking forward to seeing that dick come alive in that movie that you're working on. That's what I want to see. Aaron Fussell, have we spoken to you about your neo-noir advice for young people?
My advice would be stay present, dig deep within yourself, and then make unconventional choices in editing processes and in the storyline that you aren't sure are going to work, and try it. I would say I'm a big Hitchcock fan for movies I like, but I also recently saw The Exiles, a 1960s LA Bunker Hill film with the Native American people here. It was really good.
Native Americans. Yes, that's a whole different situation. We're not going to deal with that today. Let me ask you something. Is she gone? Is she still there? Let me ask you. Speaking of Native Americans, let's get into it. Is
Okay.
there, there's been an outcry from various people, mostly Republican people, but saying, don't mess up our classics with putting different people in there. Don't put a Chinese person in Humphrey Bogart's movie, or don't put this person or that person. Do you feel that there should be some inclusion of different voices, different cultures in your story? Is it something to think about, or should you just write totally? I'm going to write from my woman's point of view, and everybody in my show is going to be all women or this or that. Should you include other groups and different cultures in your thing, and how can you make those legitimate in your story?
I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, the more the merry. I think it's super interesting to hear from as many people as possible. And I think we are better for like getting more cultural perspectives. There are such cool like folk horror stories from around the world that I had never heard before, that, I keep hearing new stuff as I like explore foreign films. So I'm only one person. I mean, we're all only one person, right? I can't make every single movie with every single person in it about every single thing. But I think, like, again, the more the merry. Like, I love watching really unique and different perspectives. And I have no problem with, like, we all look different. So I don't have expectations of like what I'm supposed to look at. But I'm an artist, so I'm kind of weird, I guess. But, some people have expectations. They want to see like this kind of characters always looks like this, but I think that's boring personally.
Touche. And your favorite film?
Oh yeah. Well, I like Hitchcock, and I watched The Exile. I mentioned The Exiles. So I recommend it.
Touche. I thought you were talking about a group of people, the Exiles. I didn't know you meant.
Oh no, it's actually called The Exiles. It was recently refurbished or
Mastered.
Remastered. Thank you. I think by UCLA. So it recently came out and is more available to see, but it was hidden for a little while.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's try this. If I have not asked you about your favorite film, as well as your advice to young people, raise your hand so I can get a count of who's missing. How did I miss The Boys of the Summer? Let's go to Mark Hensley, ladies and gentlemen. Tell us about your favorite film and your advice to the young and mature age group.
Well, I think for me, the big thing is going back to the true classics. A movie like, for example, The Third Man, which I used a lot of influences from, actually, for my short film, as far as the way it was shot, certain scenes. Like, I have a foot chase scene, and there's this famous foot chase scene in The Third Man through the tunnels of, I think, Berlin. And look-wise, I learned from that, because I think, and then when you go transfer that to modern times with color, if you understand how to shoot a noir film, an original black and white one, and what to look for, and it was certainly a learning process for me, you realize first off that I think it's actually one of the easiest ways to film something, because you can use minimal lighting. That's a big part of it, but still get a great look. So from a cost point of view and organizational wise, I think for young filmmakers, it's a great medium and a great way to shoot. And then when I translate that to a modern film, I also think that Blade Runner absolutely tops the list of transferring that, because the cinematography in that is just amazing when you look at the way the shadows are used and minimal lighting and stuff like that. So I do think that going back to the original black and white source of it teaches you a lot about how to shoot even a current noir film, because it is more than just the script. It also teaches you like to think about locations and how you're going to shoot it and how you're going to set it up and the cinematography aspect of it. And certainly for me, who I just started making films 3 years ago, that's something that I started doing myself. It's like, okay, how do they get that look? And how do I translate that myself in scenes that I'm shooting? And so, you know, I think that that's the big thing, is actually learning about the style and then adapting whatever idea you have for a script into that. And I think it helps the whole process in itself. And again, you know, locations, looking for, I find myself driving around now and I'll notice something like, oh, that would be a great spot for that kind of a shot, or, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, I think how you shoot it and where you shoot it is just as important as the script that you're writing.
Touche. We'll make sure the young kids get that information. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come almost to the close of this great epic VIP interview that we're having here. But before I go, I want to take the mic and give it to you all, and you have an opportunity to either ask a question to the LA Neo Noir Festival or to any of your counterparts here on the roster here, or you can make a profound statement. If you have any questions or answers that you want to give that are better than the questions, you're welcome to state what you wanted to state that wasn't talked about here. Keep it all in the realm of neo-noir, and this is your time to shine as far as those questions or comments are concerned. You only get one though. You either get a question or a comment. So let's keep it moving with, let's go to Mark Hemsley again. We just found him. Let's have him again.
I would say, I guess my comment is anybody that wants to be a filmmaker today can do it. The entry level and cost to start doing it is extremely low. And I truly, truly believe that anybody who has a desire to start making movies, just go out and do it. I mean, it really is that simple. Just do it.
Hey, before we go any further than that, everybody remember the thing I just told you. We just had a new person come into the room, and that it would be Marilyn Oakley. Marilyn, before we get involved with everybody else, I'd like for you to tell us your name. We know it's Marilyn Oakley, but say it again, once again, so we know it twice. Marilyn Oakley, what is your project about briefly, very briefly, and tell us what your next project is you're working on and how can we get in touch with you. Take it away, Marilyn.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
All right, it's Marilyn Oakley, and my project, it's a fiction story song about a man who visits the bayou in search of an old woman who lives there who grants wishes. He's doubtful, but he still goes because he has a cheating wife. And then there's a twist at the end, so it's kind of, you have to watch it to see the twist at the end. I don't want to give it away. And right now I'm not working on any films, but I am working on more songs for sync and movie placements. So
where can we reach you, Marilyn, if we want some of this great quality work that you're doing?
I have a website, marilynoakley.com. You can search my name, Google it, you'll find me too, Marilyn Oakley. So,
and Marilyn, tell us your favorite neo-noir film and what advice would you give to senior, mature people as well as adolescent children in their teens or whatever the adolescence is. What advice would you give them if either one of them have never written a neo-noir project before? Take it away, Marilyn.
I would say just go ahead and do what you love doing, and you know, it's open out there, and just show the world what you have and don't be afraid to.
Marilyn, how do you write about cheaters if you have not been involved in cheating yourself and it's legitimate? Tell us about that.
Well, I have like friends, you know, that may have been through it. So I put myself in their shoes, or, you know, you see it. You just can't, as a writer, you just put yourself in people's shoes, I guess, and you become that person.
Try Walking in My Shoes, one of my favorite Depeche Mode songs. We're going to thank you, Marilyn, for that input and move on to this next man. We're going to go back to what we were originally doing, people. Who did I speak to prior to Marilyn? Mark Hemsley. Did you finish, Mark Hemsley? Did you state your mind in your piece? Okay, your mute's on.
I did, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Let's move on to Stephanie Kolar. Take it away, Stephanie.
Hello. Well, I'd like to just thank you for this awesome festival and the interview and everything. I think one of the best pieces of advice pieces of advice I was ever given. I was on a webinar for female screenwriters, and someone said, have the confidence of a mediocre white man. So I know that it's difficult, you know, you're scared, but to put your work out there, but don't be afraid to write it. Don't be afraid to get feedback, because people are gonna have opinions, and you can take what you want and what you don't want, and it'll make it better, and submit it to festivals. Get your work out there. Just don't be afraid to let everyone know what you have to say.
All right. Now we're moving on. We don't want to make a big fuss about this. We're going to Aaron Fussell, please. Aaron, talk to us about it. Well, you remember the question. You go ahead and take it away, Aaron.
I'm just gonna echo what Stephanie said. Thank you so much. This is great. Appreciate it. I don't have anything else.
Wow. Well, you are enough, Aaron. If you don't give
Well,
us
thank
anything more. Okay. Let me move on to James Eldon. Take it away, James.
I won't make a comment. I'll ask a question. So, because I'm curious, what was your inspiration and drive to start this festival to begin with?
Well, that's a great question. I'm not going to take up too much time other than to say, when I was in my heyday of acting, James, I played, if you look at my IMDb page, I played 10 janitors in a row, James, you know, and I got sick of playing janitors. I don't know why I was picked for, I guess I have a janitorly look or something to that effect. But I decided I wanted to be the Humphrey Bogart and the James Cagney, and I really was in love with film noir. And I went from that into neo-noir, the world of neo-noir. And I started to make films, and nobody would put my film in a festival. And so I talked to some friends of mine who happened to be in the film business. They said, well, if your work sucks, maybe you can find some people whose work doesn't suck and put their work up. I said, you know what, that's a great idea. And 13 years later, almost 14, we have the LA Neo-Noir Novel Film and Script Festival, where people from all around the world come up and put their greatest neo-noir foot forward. And I just said, to hell with it. I'm just gonna throw my films in the garbage and just showcase all this great, good stuff I'm seeing out here. So that's the long and short of it, James. And plus, I just like neo-noir, and I wasn't seeing the neo-noir I liked. So I figured the world had some that I hadn't seen before. So I think that answers your question.
Yeah, congratulations, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, my friend. Who else is next? Let's go with, we already talked with Mark. I keep wanting to go back to Mark for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with me. Let's move on to Rosie. Did we speak with you, Rosie? I can't hear you. What did you say?
Sorry, I said no.
Okay, well then
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And I want to echo on what you said. I think it's really beautiful that you, when you start in art or in anything, often you think, well, I'm going to start as an actor or a producer or whatever. And then when you start, it's a snowball. It kind of takes you like a blank canvas to where you're going to be. And for me, I never thought I was going to direct or write. I didn't think it was just my path until I started doing it one day, because I thought I'd have a great idea, because once again, I act and there's not a lot of projects out there for me. So I figured I'm going to start writing. But it's funny because once I started writing and directing, I figured, oh, well, I'll put myself in these films that I write, but I can't do it because it's hard to do both, right? It's hard to direct yourself, which I've had a co-director in the past. But yeah, don't, my big thing is that, yeah, don't be afraid of your imagination, because even if you have good stories to say that somebody will be inspired by. So
touche. Stephanie Kohler, we've heard from you. Aaron Fussell, we've heard from you. Mark Hemsley, of course. Adrian Garcia, have we heard from you yet?
Not yet. Hello.
Let's get it.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me here, this amazing festival. I'm very happy to be here. I may have a question for you, or for all of us, actually. So I was wondering, so we had film noir, classical film noir, we have neo-noir. What do you think is the future of neo-noir? What is next? And I'm asking this because there are some characteristics of neo-noir and film noir, like the femme fatale, for example, and some gender problems there. So I really want to ask you, what do you think is next for neo-noir?
Thanks for that wonderful question, Adrian. I'm going to answer the first part, and then I'm going to let Jim Watson clean this up for me. I think the future of neo-noir is Dix coming alive. That's my hope for the future. Jim Watson, you tell him what you think the future of neo-noir is.
I think that's above my pay grade. I don't know what the future of neo-noir, but I agree that there are some issues in classic noir and neo-noir around gender issues, around the objectification of the femme fatale and the kind of the embodiment of darkness, dark fatalism, kind of represented by the female. I think that's gone by the wayside largely, and I hope it continues. So that's all I have to say about that.
All right, Jim. Well, go ahead. I thought you said that was all you had to say. Go ahead, finish talking.
Well, to follow up on all the other stuff is, I think noir, the key of noir to me in some ways is when it started in the 50s, it was very subversive. It was breaking the Hollywood formulas about happy endings and characterization. And I hope that part of it continues. I hope that neo-noir continues to be subversive. And then, I didn't get a chance to say how you can reach me, so I don't know if you can see this.
Raise it up.
It's jim@hlmedia.com is the email, and the Perry Film Project is on Facebook, and it's also I write under RJ Watson, so that's by RJ Watson. And I want to thank you for this. This is really enlightening and fun, and I'm so pleased to have been a part of it.
Thank you so much, Jim. We loved having you here, and we value your opinion. Stephanie Kohler, that was the most sexist thing I've heard so far. I want you to give us the women's point of view on what is the future of neo-noir. Talk to us.
I mean, I'd like to see more female lead characters. I don't see why a woman couldn't be the flawed protagonist. I think that's definitely an area where we could go in the future.
Touche. Aaron, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take it to like where I was thinking before about just how many cool and interesting news stories I've heard in like some of the foreign cinema that I've watched that's like folk horror or like some of their noir. And I think as we stop thinking only in like American or, North American, we might find some very interesting ideas on more of a global scale, which I think would be rad.
Okay, raise your hand if I haven't asked you the final question. Raise your hand if I haven't talked to you. We got Isaac, Mark, and anybody else? That's it, just Isaac and Mark? Okay, Mark, chip in on what they just spoke about and then give us the answer to those other questions, either an answer or a statement, a question or a statement. Just take it away, Mark.
Okay. Well, I just want to echo everybody's, thanks again for hosting this. Yeah, it's very interesting discussion and conversation. The future of film noir, whatever's in people's imaginations, I guess. I did science fiction, so that field is wide open for this style of movie. So,
Marilyn, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I'm done.
That's it. Okay, he's done. Yeah. Marilyn Oakley, talk to me about the future of neo-noir. Then we're going to go to Isaac.
I like to see, more women roles as well too, and I just hope that people just put their work out there. And I love watching everybody's films and projects, so keep it going.
But Marilyn, here's the deal. It's mostly men writers in this genre. I can tell you because I've been doing this for 13 years. We got a handful of women neo-noir writers. And as much as I've tried to think from the mind of a 20-year-old white woman, I've been unsuccessful thus far. What can we do to get more neo-noir writers with a legitimate female point of view?
Let them know that, I think more women should you got to let them know, hey, just do your thing, put it out there. I think more women need to get into this and be recognized as writers as well.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. We're going to move over here to Isaac Ballesteros to close us out. I enjoy your name alone, Isaac. It's very provocative. Talk to us about what I've just finished talking about. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Like, you want me to just tell like a comment on a question, or just talk about the future of
we're going to give you
noir?
a bonus treat today.
Okay.
We want you to, if you want, you can ask a question, you can make a comment, and you can tell us about the future of neo-noir. Just go off crazy neo-noir style on us, my friend.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me in LA Neo Noir Film Festival. This has been amazing. Second of all, I would say, I mean, along with everything that everybody has said already, you know, getting into different and new stories, you know, trying more inclusivity, as far as a female's point of view, and different ethnicities, you know, different stories, different, you know, like I'm from Mexico, so like, you know, doing film noir Mexican, you know, like there it's been done, yes, but you know, it's not something very common as well. And I guess that's it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is said that a hero of 1,000 faces is every expression of God, the mind of a sleeping God, something to the effect that every person you see is an expression of God's face, if you believe in that sort of stuff. I like to think that all of you all are an expression of neo-noir and an expression of my greatest self and my craziest self. So I thank you all for being that to me, and I hope you are that to yourselves, and I hope we can continue to create this deranged, dark, shadowy, monstrous stuff that Raymond, what's his name? Raymond Carver? No.
Chandler.
Chandler, there we go. Exactly. I had a brain neo-noir moment there. Raymond Chandler envisioned, or might even be terrified by. Thank you so much for this great work, ladies and gentlemen. Continue to create neo-noir. That's all the time we have today. We'd like to thank our sponsors once again, Fade In TV, International Screenwriters Association, Shanice Coleman, Radio Theater for the Soul, Final Draft, and we thank Film Freeway for bringing us all together. And once again, people, keep creating that neo-noir. Have a great day. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
One quick question, where can we see everybody's films?
You will see everyone's films on the LA Neo Noir website, and email will be sent to you regarding that. We're going to do that in the next 2 or 3 days. You'll get the information of the who, what, when, where, and how. But just be understanding that it's going to take place. Thank you. Have a great day.
Have a good weekend, guys.
You too.